All right, guys, this is a video to explain the two-step inequality coloring activity. You have a PDF sheet, and you must complete this first and have it checked before you can get this sheet in color. Nobody can color until their sheet has been checked. How do you do the sheet? This is to practice solving two-step inequalities correctly. Okay? We are not, you can work in partners if you want. I have no problem. If you want to take a column and your partner take a column, that's fine to cut down the amount you have to do. I have no problem with that. All right? Or you can work independently and do all 20 problems. You need to do your problems on scratch paper. You need to do your problems on scratch paper. All right, let's go look at the directions. Solve each inequality. Identify matching answers between column 1 and column 2. And then color the I love math picture. The I love math picture has numbers 1 through 10. See? So in order to know what color to color them, you have to solve both columns. This column has the numbers. This column has the colors. And you will match their answers. So when you match their answers, it will tell you the answer to number 1 will match one of these answers, okay? And that way you'll know that all the number 1s on this second page will be colored that color. I'm not going to tell you the color because that will give it away. I do have a key. It will be available, but you will have to check it after you've done your work. You cannot just go and check it beforehand. You cannot even get the color sheet until you have done the work on these sheets, and you must show where you work the problem out. Okay, it has to be attached. You can do it on the back or another sheet of paper. But in order to be able to color, your answers have to be checked, and you must show your work. Oh, darn. All right, so let's talk about it. The first thing everyone should do, everyone should go through all the problems and circle the inequality signs that are going to need to be flipped. Now, how do we know an inequality sign is going to need to be flipped? Because remember, we're going to solve them like two-step equations. We know an inequality sign is going to have to be flipped if there is a negative number or a minus sign in front of the x or under it. So you go through and you look. This does not have a negative number or a minus with the x. It has a positive 2 times x. I go down here. This is divided by a positive 4, so it is not going to be flipped when you do your answer. Number 3, however, has a negative 6 times x. So eventually I'm going to have to divide both sides by negative 6. So since I know now that it has a negative number, I am going to circle that inequality sign. I will solve them just like equations, and in the end, I will put the correct inequality sign on it. I go down to number 4. Nope, positive 4. I go down to number 5, x divided by negative 2. Yep, there is a negative 2 with the x. So I'm going to circle that inequality sign. And you can circle it much narrower than me so you can see it. I go down to number 6, 8 minus 2 times x. There is a minus with the 2 and the x. That is a negative 2. So you are going to be dividing by a negative 2. Circle. 7. Oh, there is a negative 13 times x. So there is a negative number times the x. X divided by positive 3. Nope. Negative 9 times x. Yep. minus x, meaning minus a negative 1 times x. So, yep. And now you need to go through the second half and check it. Okay? Because if you don't flip them, they won't match. All right. So then what do you do? On your scratch paper, or if you don't want to use scratch paper, that's completely up to you. You are then going to work these problems. I will work a few, but I'm not working all of them. And now my things have moved, so I'm going to clear my screen. Make sure you circled the ones I gave you, because I'm not going back. All right. So I'm going to work some of the ones that are harder, and that's why I blew it up. All right. We have negative 6 times x plus 7 is greater than or equal to 19. And that is a negative 6 with the x, so I know I'm going to have to circle that. Now I'm going to write that as an equation. Negative 6 times x plus 7 equals 19. Now I'm going to solve it just like a two-step equation. The first thing I always do is the opposite of add or subtract. So the opposite of adding 7 is subtracting 7 to both sides. That's going to leave me, because that gives me a zero pair, that's going to leave me negative 6 times x equals 12. Now, the opposite of multiplying by negative 6 is dividing by negative 6. See, we are dividing by a negative. When we do that on this side, we get 1x, or just x, equals. And on this side, we have 1 negative. We get negative 2. Now that we have our number, we're going to write our inequality. It's circled, meaning we must flip it. That means our inequality will go this way. And later on, there will be one over on this side that has x is less than or equal to negative 2. And that'll let you know what color all threes need to be. That will let you know what color all threes need to be. I might be nice enough to even work that one. All right. I want to move this is the next problem I'm going to work. Negative 8 times x minus 14 is greater than or equal to 2. My first step. Am I going to have to flip the inequality sign? Is there a negative number next to the x or under it? There is. Now I'm going to write that just like an equation. The first thing we do is the opposite of add or subtract. The opposite of subtracting by 14 is adding 14 to both sides to keep it balanced. And remember, you have to show your work or you're not coloring. And to get all your points, you have to show your work. This is due next week. Does not have to be finished today. All right. That gives me a zero pair, or 0. It leaves me with negative 8 times x equals 14 plus 2 is 16. The opposite of multiplying by negative 8 is dividing by negative 8. That gives me 1x, or just x, equals, you got 1 negative, 16 divided by negative 2. Now I go over here. My sign has to be flipped because it's circled. We divide it by a negative. That's the same as we just finished. Remember number 3? That means all threes on your picture are going to be pink. And once you figure that out, then you can go back to it If you need to pause to get the work, pause. You can go back to number 3, and next to number 3, write pink. Or color it pink, whichever it may be. Okay? All right. I want to work a couple more that are a little difficult, just to make sure work it. I'm not finding any more colors. None. Remember, if the number is first, number 4. Let's do number 4. We do not have a negative. Negative 10 plus 4 times x is greater than 50. There is no negative times the x or divided by it. All right, so I'm going to write this as an equation. Negative 10 plus 4 times x is equal to 50. If the number's first, you look at its sign and you do the opposite. The opposite of negative 10 is adding 10 or a positive 10. We need this to be a zero pair. That leaves me with 4 times x equals 60. The opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing both sides by 4. That cancels out, giving me 1x or just x. And 60 divided by 4 is 15. Now we're going to write our sign. It did not have to be flipped, so it stays. X is greater than 15. And there you go. All right, we are going to work number 5. So I'm going to scroll on down to 5. Number 5. X divided by negative 2 is minus 17 is greater than negative 13. I am dividing by a negative. There is a negative with the x. I am circling that because I will need to multiply by a negative number to both sides, meaning my inequality sign must flip. Now I'm going to write that like an equation. X divided by negative 2 minus 17 equals negative 13. All right, the opposite of subtracting by 17 is adding 17 to both sides. That gives me my zero pair, and it leaves me with x divided by negative 2 equals, you have a negative 13 plus a positive 17. We can't add those. They're different signs. So we subtract 17 minus 13. We get 4. We have more positives than we do negatives, so our answer is a positive 4. The opposite of dividing by negative 2 is multiplying by negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. On this side, that cancels out. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 gives us 1x or just x. On this side, we have 1 negative, negative 8. Now, go write my inequality sign. X, got to flip it, it's circled, is less than negative 8 for number 5. Okay? All right. I am also going to work number 6. So I'm trying to work the ones that are a little different to give you an opportunity to see them worked. And I think after that, that's probably all. All right. So I have 8 minus 2 times x is less than or equal to 46. That minus is the same as negative 2x. Okay? So I'm going to circle my inequality sign because I'm going to have to flip it on the answer. Now I'm going to write an equation. 8 minus 2 times x equals 46. The 8 is in front. That minus goes with the 2. It does not go with 8. The 8 is positive. The opposite of a positive 8 is a negative 8, or subtract 8 to both sides. Okay? The 8's zero out. You've got a zero pair. You come down with negative 2. times x equals, because a minus and negative are the same thing, you have 46 minus 8, which leaves you with, what does it leave you with? 38. The opposite of multiplying by negative 2 is dividing by negative 2. That gives me 1, because you have two negatives, 1x all by itself equals 1 negative and 38 divided by 2. You get negative 19. Then I go write my inequality sign. It's circled. That means I must flip it. Negative 19. And there's my answer for number 6. All right. I think there was one more I wanted to look at. Remember, that means divide. The opposite of divide is multiply. Okay? If the number's in front, you do the opposite. If it's a negative, you're going to add 7 to both sides. Number 10, because I see so many people miss this one. 16 minus x. There is a minus or negative with the x. So, and there's also a 1 there. So I'm going to circle my inequality sign. Then I'm going to write this as an equation. 16 minus 1 times x is equal to 9. The 16's in front. It's positive. The opposite of a positive 16 is a negative 16. That's a 0 pair, so it zeroes out. So you still have negative 1 times x is equal to, you have 9 plus negative 16. Can't add them, different signs. So we do 16 minus 9. We get 7. We have more negatives than positives. All right. The opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is dividing by negative 1. 2 negatives, so we get 1 positive x is equal to negative divided by a negative is a positive 7. Now I'm going to go write my inequality, and I notice my sign circled. That means I must flip it. So x is less than 7. So hopefully you have that. Okay? So now I've worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, I worked 6 of them. All right, I'm going to work one more, number 8. And then you on your own. All right, number 8. Negative 7 plus x divided by 3 is greater than negative 4. There is not a negative number with the x. We do not need to circle our sign. So I'm going to write it as an equation. Negative 7 plus x divided by 3 is equal to 4. And guys, you're not going to have room to do these on your paper. Notice I almost got it at 200 to do that. All right, the numbers in front. The opposite of a negative 7 is a positive 7. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides first. And that was a negative 4. There we go. That's my 0 pair. 0 pair is left with x divided by 3 equals negative 4 plus positive 7. Can't add them. Can't add them. So we subtract 7 minus 4. I'm letting her finish talking so it doesn't interrupt me. 7 minus 4 is 3. We have more positives than negatives. The opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. Cancels out there, giving me 1x. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I need to write my inequality. My sign did not need to flip. It stayed the same. So for number 8, it is going to be x is greater than 9. All right, hopefully that helped you. At this point, I really don't know how else to help you. You should be able to do these, and it should not be a struggle at this point. I know that some of you are struggling with it, but if you're still struggling, you need to go back and watch this 2-step equation videos. I'm going to do the one more right here under brown because that's a little more of a difficult problem. I have negative 11 minus x is greater than or equal to negative 7. That is a negative x, so that's a negative 1. So I'm going to circle my sign because I'm going to need to flip it on my answer because I'm going to have to divide by negative 1. All right, I'm going to now write that as an equation. Negative 11 minus 1 times x is equal to negative 7. My number's in front. We look at the sign on the number when it's in front. That minus goes with the 1, not the 11. The opposite of a negative 11 is a positive 11. We need a 0 pair on this side. But I must do it to both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to both. That gives me 0, so it's gone. We're left with negative 1 times x equals. We have negative 7 plus a positive 11. We can't add them. They're different signs. So we stop, subtract 11 minus 7. We get 4. We have more positives than negatives, so it's a positive 4. Now, the opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is dividing by negative 1. So I'm going to divide by negative 1 to both sides of my equation. All right? Both sides. I need to erase real quick. All righty, pen. When I do that, that gives me a positive x. I've got 1 negative and 4 divided by 1. I get negative 4. Now I come over and write my inequality. X. I go look. Oh, it's circled, meaning I must flip it. Negative 4. And now if you have another answer that you've already done over here that's negative 4, then you know that it is going to be brown. And you can circle your number with brown, but I don't think we've done it yet. I think I've done plenty already. I have not left you that many to do. 13 of them. Okay, so we're going to have plenty of time to work on these. The first step, guys, first step, you need to go to both sides, and see if you have a negative or minus in front of the x or under the x. If you do, then you must circle your sign because you need to flip it after you solve it like an equation to write your answer. I don't have a negative with that one. X divided by negative 5. I do with that one. Circle. Negative 4 times x. I have a negative with that one. Negative 15 plus a positive 2 times x. I do not with that one. X divided by negative 3. I have one with that one. 12 minus 7 times x. That isn't same as a negative 7. Minus and plus a negative are the same thing. Negative 15 times x. Yep, definitely got a negative times the x. Negative 2 plus x divided by positive 7. Nope, no negative in front of or divided by. And we did that one already. We did that one. So I've given you almost all the ones that need to be circled. So that is your first job before you solve anything, is to circle them. Then write them as equations on your scratch paper. Solve the equation. Get your x equals. Then go to your worksheet. And when you write them, see I had x equals 9. I went to write my x equals. Let me move this so we can see it, where we had x equals 9. And I saw that that was not circled, so it stayed the same. But on number 10, after I solved it as an equation and got x equals 7, when I went to write my inequality, I put my x, I went and looked, uh-oh, it's circled. I need to flip it the other direction. And I did, and then put the 7. So hopefully that clears that up. Remember, you cannot get the second sheet until you've got all the colors, all your work done. Okay, and remember, this isn't going to be due till next week, but you need to try and do your best because this is going to prepare you for the test and high school and LEAP. So good luck. Work quietly so that you can be included in any fun activities we do. And I know you can do your best. Don't rush through it.